Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, listeners and viewers, we thank the Almighty God for yet another opportunity that we are here to share and discuss a few things concerning the topic, the theme we are still running, entitled For a Sweet Relationship. Someone was advising and said, why don't we say in a sweet relationship? Whatever it is, for a sweet relationship, we have been running series of sub-themes and subtopics. And we are still dealing with relationship of a man and woman, or boy and a girl, who intend to become candidates whose relationship will end in marriage. We have been tackling different aspects to balance the viewership. To those who are married, to those who are in courtship, intending to marry, so we've been trying to balance. This moment, ladies and gentlemen, I want to send my appreciation to the organizers, Legacy Channel Africa, LC Africa, for granting me another opportunity to have something to share with you this moment. Thank you for those who are following and making comments, supplements, and supporting us morally and financially. May God's name be praised. May you be praised. We are looking at, briefly, mistakes that women make when choosing a husband. I have, for the past, got some phone calls, that yes, fine, but there are times when we make mistakes, when we are driven by either emotions or sentiments, or we hurried into things. I want you and me to agree. Sometimes there are some mistakes we commit when choosing, I am a man, when choosing a wife, when choosing for a woman, when choosing a husband. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at mistakes women make when choosing a husband. Women, I mean you, lady, girl who is viewing this or listening, you who is intending, who is driving the relationship from friendship to pairing off, it is going into dating and courtship. Before you commit yourself, before you say you take vows, there are some mistakes women make. We want to look at them just briefly. I have not given them a cardinal order. You will allow me to begin. Of course, when you are learning or viewing and watching this, you will see where to put what, or what to put number one in this kind of arrangement. They are more than 5. We shall run through them. The mistakes that women make when choosing a husband. I am looking at a woman as a female sex, a female folk. That lady who has not yet made vows in the church, in the mosque, or going traditional marriage, before you determine that this is my marriage partner. Marriage is an institution that is supposed to be permanent, but enjoyable. A small heaven on earth. The first school, the basic school, the most important, the first church, the first theater, entertainment center for the people who belong to this family. It should be the first and the most important entertainment center. It should be the first cultural site. It should be the first school and the best school where the head teacher, mother and father are appointed by God. Don't retire. They are not pensionable. They have no limited syllabus or syllabi. This is the first and the most important school. It should be the first church. Because of all this, when we define a family, we say it is a basic unit. Basic in this sense to mean the most important. The basic unit of a human society, human grouping, where the members are loved and accepted, where the first teaching takes place, where the introduction to God takes place, where the first hospital, I wanted to add, should be the first hospital, where actually the emotional, psychological treatment must take place. Local artists have sung one message. Semakula sang that the song about first aid, that the partner gives him the first aid, the first treatment. But the partner is not a medical worker, by the way. But I think the emotional or psychological belief, her presence does much to him. The words, the soft words which are murmured in love. I said murmured, the soft words. The touches and all this gives him some level of treatment, of healing. I am looking at the home. Therefore, if we must enjoy it, this home, this family we are going to bring forth, there are some things we must learn. There are those mistakes, you, dear viewers out there, the ladies, the women who are not yet married, who are planning to, who are dreaming, who are praying about it, that women, the mistakes that women make, that we want to go through so that we can avoid them or prevent them or treat this situation carefully. What are they? Let me number them. Number one, there are some warnings we call red flags which come to you. I am addressing the women in particular, but of course as the men are also listening and viewing. The next time, if God grants us opportunity, we shall look at the mistakes that men make when choosing a wife. But these may cut across. Don't worry about listening and paying attention to it. I am more particular to women in this moment. The red flags, those are warnings. I have termed it, you ignore blatant red flags. You ignore blatant red flags. Here to mean, there are some warnings that you see, that you observe, that must be taken carefully, that must be considered and regarded. Actually, it is better to have a broken relationship than a broken marriage. Quote me so well, it is better, easier, softer to have a broken relationship before we take vows than a broken marriage. It will haunt you more for a broken marriage. It will affect many parties. The other day we defined marriage as a bringing together, putting together. I am married to Esther. The two of us met first. Then later, we brought in other people, my father, my mother, my brothers and sisters, nephews, nieces, etc. This my mother and father became her mother and father. We only add the word in-law, in-laws. My sister and brothers, my sisters and brothers became her sisters and brothers, but we add in-law, therefore called in-laws, father-in-law, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law. So her parents, her brothers and sisters became mine too. In addition, her strength and weaknesses, her achievements and failures, they become mine in a certain sense. My achievements, my failures, my weaknesses become hers. We share them. This is what marriage means. Where I had my album, if I had one anyway, having my photos, when we marry, we no longer have my album, her album. We now have one. This is what is expected. This is what is expected. I said, there are some red flags, we call warnings, which must be considered and regarded. I have termed it, you ignore blatant red flags. These are warnings like laziness. If you spot someone before you marry, he's too lazy, he wakes up late. How will you know you don't sleep with him? But of course, there are things you can tell. Assuming you gave a surprise visit by 7 a.m. and he didn't sleep over the funerals somewhere, having a vigil somewhere, but he's a guy who's waking up late and yawning around and saying, it is already 7 or past 7, that kind of laziness, arrogance, poor time manager before you even marry. It may be an indication, an indicator that even in marriage, this guy, this kind of person, this person, if he becomes husband, may be a poor time manager. And this will mean so many things. It is another route to poverty. Yes, laziness. Laziness means simply resting before work. There are some people who are both lazy and weak. and weak. Weakness may mean inability to do something expected in the time expected, in the manner expected. That may be weakness. Laziness means resting before work, simply by my own explanation, the description. I said, ignoring, when you ignore blatant red flags, you ignore some warnings which you may see before marriage. This guy is possessing in his character, in his way of behavior, and you ignore them. The marriage may not be sweet. Hiding when picking a call. Someone goes to hide as he peeps around to see whether you are following or eavesdropping. This is a red flag. These are bad signs. I think for people who are going to live together as 1 + 1 now equal to 1, this kind of mathematics of marriage, there should not be any hiding when I'm picking a call. If I am to do it, I should ask for excuse me, let me speak to this commissioner, to the pastor. It is some kind of private information first. I'm speaking to a counselee, for us who are counselors, which information I may not want her to share immediately. That kind of thing. But if it is not that, and someone hides when speaking a call, then these are warnings. Some red flags you must take caution about. Language which is deceitful. We are in Natete. They are traveling on a taxi. Someone calls and he answers the vernacular and says we are in Natete. Another call, he says we are in Machi, India. These are warnings to you that if he does this to some other people, it is likely that you may also call sometime and he tells lies. These and more, when you call for comments or for queries, which may expand, are red flags, are warnings that must come to this kind of person may not be the best choice. Let's come to number 2. Number 2, I have said here, you go forward with the relationship even when he does unacceptable things. I said, you go forward with a relationship even when he does unacceptable things. Unacceptable, UN. Things which are not accepted. Like what? Like what? This guy is smoking. Now, if you're a Christian, Seventh Day, for example, any other Christian, who knows, who is sure that smoking affects the lungs, the health of a person? And this kind of chain smoker who smokes stealthily, and you happen to discover, and is not willing to stop the habit, the guy is drinking. He buys tots and those other things and, hiding them, or actually, sometimes you spot him smelling booze. And you are not willing to tolerate this. This is a thing you should not push. He's so nagging, quarrelsome, hot-tempered, short-tempered. When something annoys him, it will take on for days and weeks. He will quarrel and blast and, wanting even to fight or to beat. Disrespectful. I am looking at number 2. Another mistake, the second mistake that we make, going forward with the relationship, even when the husband-to-be does things which are not acceptable, unacceptable things. I'm trying to go through smoking, drinking. He's so nagging, meaning he's quarrelsome. He's disrespectful to you and to others. He greets elders while pocketing. This kind of greets when he's walking. And so many such other small things. He's bossy. He has a bossy character, bossy. He's a taxi evader. He has a business. He's a trader. He has a shop. I'm giving an example. Where he's supposed to pay trade license, assuming he comes from a town council, municipality, state council, etc. Trade license, maybe property rent, maybe all such things. He either forges or he avoids paying these taxes. Therefore, he's a lawbreaker. Lawbreaker who sometimes may end in jail. When you see all these signs, it is not wise that one would go forward, would go ahead with such a relationship when all these things have come. He has no respect to culture, no respect to cultural values, no respect to church issues. religious issues, etc. I have said the second mistake is to go forward with the relationship even when he, I mean the husband-to-be, does unacceptable things like I have enumerated. Number 3, we marry someone broke. I want to explain now what I mean. I am not saying you to look for guys who are rich. That's not what I mean. Comma, with no career prospects, has no plan for the future. This kind of person would not be the best candidate. I have said my number 3 and third mistake, you marry someone who is broke with no career prospects and no plan for the future. It is not wise that we go on to choose this person for a husband. I am speaking to ladies more so. These affect ladies more so. Someone should not be broke. Broke, I mean this. There is a word which is commonly used, poverty. Poor is poor. It is a wide phenomenon. It is wide. What do we want to mean? Do you want to mean is financially handicapped? Financial hindrances? When we use the word poor or poverty, it is big. It is a big subject. Let us be particular. But even someone who is broke has no ideas, has no plans, small plans, plans for, someone who keeps complaining. Now, since last year, in Uganda, we got the influx of the pandemic, the COVID-19. Started in 2019 sometime, but in Uganda, observed 2020. And many businesses went into a lockdown from March last year. Up to now, some businesses like schools are still affected, bars, etc. But yet, someone who has not yet died of the pandemic or other issues, accidents, other diseases, etc., and is still seated complaining of the COVID pandemic, complaining of the fire which got his shop sometime, and has no plans, assuming he was running a school or teaching, but he's still alive, still living, walking, eating, etc., and has no plan of putting up something small, of moving out looking for something he can do to earn a living, but he's still complaining of the effects of the pandemic, then it would not be wise that one would go on with this kind of person. I said, you marry someone who is broke. Broke, I mean without ideas, without money, without business, without ideas. This is all that I'm trying to put forward. With no career prospects. What are you planning? Assuming you're a grade 3 teacher or grade 5. What are you planning? The career prospect should be that, well, I plan to go for in-service training to get it to study for a degree, then later master's, to lift my level from teaching primary or early secondary to a tutor, to a lecturer, that kind of. I am now operating a store here with the capital 30, 40, 100,000, but later, when we grow from this, I plan to do this. This is what I'm trying to mean. The third mistake. Now we go to number 4. The fourth mistake. Your parents and friends decide who you should marry. Your parents and friends decide, underline the word decide, who you should marry. It is another mistake. Decide. They should advise, caution, or suggest, but not decide. Because after simple quarrel, we will say, after all, you weren't my choice. My friends insisted I should marry you. Maybe we are suitable for them and not suitable for me. That kind of thing. The parents and friends deciding on you who you should marry. The husband, someone who should be your husband. This is not very good. It is number 4. Let's look at number 5. Number 5, here we said, you marry a fixer-upper. Fixer, F-I-X-E-R, dash, upper is U-P-P-E-R, fixer-up. Someone you should fix, you're planning to fix, to put proper, to put right, to adjust. He's not an object, It may not be easy. He has all things upside down. But you plan to put him right on the walking style, the hairstyle, dressing style, the speeches he makes, the way he talks, so many things, the character itself. It may not be suitable. This is another mistake, number 5. a fixer-upper. Is not a suitable person to marry. When you are choosing, let's avoid this mistake. Let's look at another number for our case. You marry. Those were 5. This number 6, therefore. You marry because that is what you have to do. That is number 6. You marry because that is what you have to do. Anyway, what would I do? The church people were pressurizing me. They wanted a deaconess, someone who is married. They wanted I studied education. They wanted to appoint a headmistress in the other church primary school or the other church secondary school, but someone who is married. This is not so good. This is not so good. Someone because you marry because that's what you have to do. This is not it is another mistake. Let's come to number 7. You don't listen to your gut. Gut is G-U-T, G-U-T, gut. Listen to your inner person. Yes, the speeches that the inner person tell you, the ideas. If they tell you to reconsider, to give it some time, to give it a second thought, you need to listen to them. We've called it the gut. You don't listen to your gut, G-U-T, I said. The inner person, the inner feelings, the inner thoughts, they need to be given attention, a second thought, a second chance. Then number 7, you use marriage as a bandage for the problems in your relationship. Already in your courtship, you're pairing off, you're dating like we said, your friendship, you've already had some misunderstandings, some challenges. Now to cover them, because the other day you quarreled, because there was some fornication, there was some abortion committed, there was something. Now we want to cover all this. And sometimes due to the pressure of the people we live with, the elders, the church elders, the village elders, etc. They give us the poor, exert too much pressure on us. So we say, in order to cover, to bandage our misunderstandings, mismatch in relationship, let us, why don't we marry? They will keep quiet. We want to please other people. As we've covering the challenges we have already had. If we realize the challenges are unbearable, it is not wise that the relationship continues from the courtship, which is the second last stage, into marriage. Because marriage is a permanent institution. Our number 8, we choose a spouse based on a paycheck. Because when he was appointed commissioner, when he was appointed deputy or head teacher or whatever, I think that goes with income. His allowances, salaries and privileges increase. That is a better person. We are tired of bad conditions. The bad conditions you are talking of, he's not the one who brought them. No. You lived somewhere with your parents in a very poor situation, walking to church, walking to school, you're a day scholar, traveling a lot of miles. So you think he's not the one who has taken you through all these. People have always argued, we are tired of bad conditions. But he's not the one who brought them. He's not your parent. He's going to become your husband. So it is a mistake that most of you women do to choose someone for marriage based on his paycheck, based on his salary, privileges, allowances. Please, it is a mistake. Not least but last, I think, for our discussion, you don't marry someone who treats you well based on something really insignificant. Let me tell you, members, when I lost my aunt, when I lost my mother, he took care. Can you imagine he spent the whole night? He drove his father's pickup or his pickup and fetched all the water that we used. So I think this kind of caring person, yes, he cared. He had the pickup. I'm just giving an example. He came and slept by to mourn with you, fine. But how about other aspects of marriage? There's simple, small things someone has done, which may not be so significant for marriage, which is going to be lifelong, should not make you so quick to conclude that this is a candidate you should marry. I have termed it, you don't marry someone who treats you well based on something really insignificant. Things which are not so paramount, so important. Someone cares, he calls every time, He calls because he calls. That may be him, his character. He's good at communicating, calls you like he calls other people. I didn't have the hymn book at the church he provided. I didn't have a transport I was footing it, he gave me a lift. All these are small things. That should not make you conclude, you lady out there, that this is a proper or the best candidate for marriage. Lastly, number 10, you choose a guy who has opposite life plans to yours in hopes that you will change his mind. You're a photographer. You are choosing someone who has no connection to photography, to videography. But someone is a farmer completely and also. You're a medical worker. Someone has no interest whatsoever to things connected. You'll have a night shift. But in the discussion, someone is not talking about you should tolerate someone or give you company when you go to work on night shift. He's not a medical worker, I said. And I'm not saying a medical worker should take a medical work. But I said one should have interests. Should have it close in his mind. You lady out there must consider someone who is going to become your husband, who has interest in what you do. And don't tell me about teachers. I don't want teachers. Teachers are very poor. They are wiseacres. If I am a teacher and I don't intend to change so quickly into another profession, and someone who wants to go out with me in marriage has no hopes, has no love for teachers, completely hates teachers, dislikes teachers, then we may not match. Thank you so much, dear listeners. More so, this chapter we are looking at women, more so, the mistakes women make when choosing a husband. Granted chance sometime, by the grace of God, we shall look at then the mistakes that men make. And then how shall we go about them? Thank you for viewing. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Legacy Channel Africa. May God bless you.